I'm sure it makes for good photos. Oh yeah. That's interesting.
So, I mean, she's got full chance to use, you can translate.
Yeah, she has a whole Ohio state.
Right. So there's a lot of information. I mean, and I asked Chad something. Everything gives a big
Right. That's good.
You're paying for them.
That's so funny.
From the taxpayers' money.
At the White House. That probably would get tiring. Do you travel like all of the rallies this time? That's an item.
But in this environment, I don't think there's anybody full of
Very helpful. Thank you so
No,
much.
it's an interesting.
Yeah. You get to stay there?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really grand. You're okay with that?
20 days.
You agree what?
Yeah.
Company's paying for your $700 room.
You take the shit on the golf course.
You know, family.
Trump just tweeted
The
great
garage.
job.
But it's 12 hours. It's about 6 hours.
Yeah, that's
She goes
correct.
to, they collect us at 6 o'clock.
What did Tim
Yeah.
Scott do in the
Never
spring?
goes back to security.
It sounds like,
Until after midnight.
Yeah, he retweeted the White House DeSantis. Scott's not saying something. That's hard.
Well, I think of it in a different way. That
Yeah. It's overtime.
so much later,
Right now. No, we're right now. Yes.
more than double.
Staying at Martha's Vineyard,
Yeah,
getting
it's
your
like
overtime.
Jamie Harris.
Instant
Jamie Harris?
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, Susan, it's David Morgan. Just got a question for Jeffries. Can you do this in speed? Okay.
Good morning, everyone. As always, thank you for your presence. We had a very active discussion earlier today about one of the top priorities of the House Democratic Caucus, H.R. 3, our bill to lower drug prices on behalf of the American people. We've consistently made clear to the President and to the Senate that one of the things that we must accomplish on behalf of those who we have come to Washington to represent is to deal with the outrageously high drug prices and prescription drug medication that we pay here in the United States of America. There's no justification for the fact that the American people pay more for the same drug, often manufactured in the same place as Canada, Australia, Japan, Great Britain, Germany, and France. No justification whatsoever. H.R. 3 will change that by giving the federal government and Medicare the ability to negotiate lower drug prices on behalf of the American people. It is a substantively significant step in the right direction and a fiscally sound piece of legislation. The preliminary score from the CBO is that the bill will save, over a 10-year period of time, $345 billion. We look forward to our colleagues on the other side of the aisle, and the president and others, working with us because they claim to be the party of fiscal responsibility. Don't talk about it, be about it. And we're here to work with them to get something done on behalf of the American people. We also continue to work toward developing a real infrastructure plan, not the fake one that was introduced in the last Congress by the president, a real one that will fix our crumbling bridges, roads, tunnels, airports, and mass transportation system on behalf of the American people. Infrastructure has traditionally been a bipartisan issue. What is the problem, Mr. President? We were sent here to get things done. We're willing to work with you on drug pricing, infrastructure, and we're trying to get to yes on the U.S.-Mexico-Canada trade agreement, but we need a partner. And so far, what we've seen coming out of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue often is a petulant child. That's unfortunate. We hope that that changes. Let me now yield to my good friend, the distinguished gentlelady, the great vice chair from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Catherine Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning, everyone. This week, we have another opportunity for the Republicans to support a measure protecting our elections. Unfortunately, back in February, when we passed H.R. 1, the Republicans voted no unanimously on that effort to get dark money out of politics and protect people's rights to vote. But they have another opportunity this week with the SHIELD Act, which is a package of common sense solutions that can protect our elections from foreign interference. It requires campaigns to report illicit offers of assistance from foreign governments and their agents. It helps prevent foreign interference and deters disinformation in future elections by improving the transparency of online political advertisements. It closes loopholes that allow foreign nationals and governments to spend money and influence our elections, and prohibits deceptive practices about voting procedures. We have heard from our intelligence community and from Robert Mueller when he came and testified before Congress in July that Russia government interfered in the 2016 election and is working to do so every single day for the 2020 election. This is a chance to come together, protect that fundamental right to vote, and to make sure that we are keeping our elections free from foreign interference. And I'd also like to just pull our attention back to unfinished business. We passed over 200 days ago 2 common sense provisions that can help reduce gun violence in this country. And they are still collecting dust at Mitch McConnell's door. We know that Americans across the political ideology are with us on these provisions. It is one of the many examples of how the House Democrats are legislating and being blocked by this administration and our Republican colleagues in the Senate. So with that, I will yield back to the great chairman from Brooklyn and take your questions.
See, we're feeling each other this morning.
You guys have talked a number of times about how Pelosi, make the right decisions on how to handle impeachment and so on and so forth. Obviously, this is mostly being driven by the Intelligence Committee and Adam Schiff at this stage here. Is this truly, a deference to the committee chairs to come up with how they're handling this, or is Pelosi really the one in charge of this and will make the ultimate call? Kind of crunch that.
Well, as Speaker Pelosi has indicated, the ultimate call will be made by the entirety of the caucus, of course in consultation with the leadership led by Speaker Pelosi, as well as the committee chairs and the committees of relevant jurisdiction. When Speaker Pelosi first announced the impeachment inquiry, she made clear that we'll be operating under an umbrella of 6 different committees led by the Intel Committee, because the heart of the allegation here is that President Donald Trump betrayed the American people, abused his power, and undermined the national security of the United States of America by pressuring a foreign government to target an American citizen for political reasons. The president elevated his own political concerns and undermined the national security concerns of the American people. That's a problem. That's what Chairman Adam Schiff and the Intel Committee are investigating. We'll see what recommendation they have at the end of this process.
The reason I ask is because this moved into another realm when she put her shoulder behind it. That changed things fundamentally, regardless of what the caucus wanted to do or what Adam Schiff or Jerry Nadler or anybody else wanted to do. That fundamentally changed things. So I'm asking him, how much of a prime mover is she in this, and therefore will make the ultimate decision?
The Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives is a constitutional officer. She has the full confidence of the House of Representatives. In the context of the Democratic caucus, we stand behind her. You now see that I think it's over 225 members of the House Democratic caucus publicly support the impeachment inquiry that she announced last month. That speaks for itself.
As the great chairman from Brooklyn, are you supporting your fellow New Yorker to be a chairman of the Oversight Committee, Carolyn Malone?
I support the process that has been put into place. As the chairman of the House Democratic Caucus, I have to preside over any possible election that would take place 30 days from the date that the vacancy was created as a result of the passing, tragically, of Elijah Cummings, phenomenal chair, phenomenal leader, phenomenal member of Congress. Carolyn Maloney, is now the acting chair of the Oversight Committee. I support that. I support her. And we'll see what the caucus decides within the 30-day window.
Put your thumb on the scale just a little bit.
No, we don't put thumbs on the scale from Brooklyn.
Characterize the impeachment inquiry as a lynching. What's your response to that characterization?
Well, I'm going to let Catherine respond, of course, as well. But the thousands of African Americans were slaughtered during the lynching epidemic in this country for no reason other than the color of their skin. The president should not compare a constitutionally mandated impeachment inquiry to such a dangerous and dark chapter of American history. It's irresponsible for him to do so, and I hope that he will apologize.
I don't know how to characterize that from our president except as grotesque. I had the honor of going with John Lewis to the lynching memorial in Montgomery, Alabama this past March. And I recommend all of you make that journey. You cannot go into that memorial and walk out the same person. And to see those columns that represent bodies hanging from this incredible, from this incredible memorial, so many of them children, so many of them elderly, and so many of them lynched because they tried to exercise the right to vote. To have the President of the United States make any kind of comparison to a constitutional impeachment inquiry that was sparked by his abuse of power, by choosing his political gain over that of our national security, his betrayal of the oath of office, his betrayal of protecting the integrity of our elections, is one that is not worthy of the President of the United States, and is an invocation of a terribly violent and dark period in our history to make himself once again a victim. It is disgusting to say the least.
Third row.
On that note, should the House put forward a resolution of condemnation for this particular comment? Is that something that the caucus has discussed at all this morning?
No, we haven't had that discussion. Thanks.
Yesterday we saw a party line vote over Representative Adam Schiff, Chairman Schiff. And I'm wondering, do you think it is possible in the wake of this vote for the Intelligence Committee to work in a bipartisan way?
It's my hope that the Intel Committee will continue to work in a bipartisan way, but you can't take the things that the House Republicans are doing as it relates to Adam Schiff seriously. There's no more respected member, no more qualified member, no more dignified, cerebral, serious member on the Hill than Chairman Adam Schiff. And think about this. Devin Nunes was a living, breathing, walking embarrassment to the institution of the House of Representatives, and you heard crickets from them in the last Congress. That resolution was phony, fake, and fraudulent, and the only reason it came up is because House Republicans cannot defend the president's betrayal of his oath of office, his abuse of power, and the undermining of our national security. Let's hear a substantive defense. We are waiting for exculpatory evidence to be presented. It has not. We're going to continue to undertake this proceeding in a serious and solemn way, consistent with our constitutional responsibilities. It's our hope that House Republicans will do the same and end the gamesmanship and the charades.
I would just like to add to the comments of the chairman that I have every single confidence that Adam Schiff will continue to lead this process in a fair way that is inclusive of Republicans, no matter how they want to try and characterize this. They are in these depositions, they are asking questions, and information is being shared with them. This is the process that we have had before. And when you cannot excuse conduct, which the Republicans cannot do, they turn to process arguments. But Adam Schiff has shown himself over and over again to be someone who conducts himself with the utmost integrity, and he will ensure that this process is fair and inclusive, just as he has been doing since this inquiry began.
There's reports out that a lawmaker in your caucus has been having a relationship with two subordinates. It's Katie Hill, California. This raises serious legal and ethical issues. How is the caucus planning to deal with this, or have you discussed a way to deal with this issue?
We had a leadership meeting this morning. It didn't come up. We had a caucus meeting. It didn't come up. I'm not familiar with the nature of the allegations. Until I familiarize myself with it, I'm not really in a position to comment.
Do you anticipate at some point having a caucus vote on moving into a more public impeachment inquiry? Would a vote fit into that at any place, or do you expect to move into the public portion without a vote?
We're going to follow the facts, apply the law, be guided by the Constitution, and present the truth to the American people, no matter where it leads. No one is above the law, not even the President of the United States of America. From a process standpoint, things are proceeding in a manner consistent with what Speaker Pelosi laid out when she announced the impeachment inquiry in the umbrella of the 6 committees. That's where we're at right now.
How do you expect Democrats to deal with cabinet officials like most recently Secretary Perry, who have refused to comply with subpoenas in this investigation?
Well, the committee chairs have made clear, including the late, great Elijah Cummings, in a letter that was sent along with Chairman Schiff and Chairman Engel, that the failure to comply with a lawfully issued congressional subpoena will lead to an adverse inference that the administration and the White House and Donald Trump are hiding evidence from the American people, because that evidence will be damning as it relates to the wrongdoing of Donald Trump. And we'll see whether that also may lead to a possible obstruction of Congress charge, as was the case with the Nixon impeachment inquiry and ultimate articles that were voted out of the House Judiciary Committee. That's what our chairs have said. I believe the caucus backs up that approach. Back row, and then second to last row.
Thank you, Chairman. I can't help but be reminded at the end of the last Congress, something that you and a lot of other Democrats worked with the White House on was criminal justice reform. There's always been this additional conversation that there could be follow-up measures. I'm curious from your perspective, have there been continued good faith conversations, and do you see the criminal justice conversation going anywhere as an impeachment inquiry continues?
Well, we were able to work together, as you've indicated, in the last Congress in a manner where Democrats and Republicans, progressives and conservatives, the left and the right, the ACLU and the Koch brothers, the NAACP and the Heritage Foundation, in partnership with the administration, led by Jared Kushner, ultimately were able to get a bill to the president's desk that he signed into law. That was a meaningful accomplishment in the context of dealing with the mass incarceration epidemic that we have in America. The Judiciary Committee last week had an oversight hearing led by Karen Bass on the First Step Act, where we heard from administration officials who continue to express commitment to moving the needle forward as it relates to criminal justice reform, and we're hopeful that we can do that. And it's consistent with the fact that the House Democratic majority is here to get things done, to work with the president and the other side of the aisle. Unlike, by the way, the posture that was adopted by the previous majority for much of the presidency of Barack Obama, where they had one mantra: obstruction now, obstruction tomorrow, obstruction forever. We obviously have indicated, by working with the administration on things like the First Step Act, that we'll take a different approach. We're going to take that approach on prescription drug pricing, infrastructure, the USMCA, and anything that makes life better for the American people.
Just to clarify, have they been receptive to recent conversations?
Yeah, there's bipartisan bills that are working their way through the various committees of jurisdiction, primarily judiciary. And in the last conversation that I had with Jared Kushner, which was probably a few months ago, we still have an open door as it relates to possible collaboration down the road.
I want to follow up on George's question. The adverse inference and potential obstruction of Congress that you talked about really would hold Trump more to account than the officials who disobey the subpoenas. Is there anything specific in mind that would target those officials, whether it's like there's an appropriations provision, I think that allows you guys to withhold their pay, you could use inherent contempt to fine them, or is there anything under discussion specifically for the officials?
I haven't been party to any such discussion. We are in the middle of an impeachment inquiry that relates to the conduct of Donald J. Trump. The evidence of wrongdoing by Donald Trump is hiding in plain sight. We have the rough transcript of the July 25th phone call. We have his own words: "Do us a favor, though." We have the whistleblower complaint that has been validated by members of Trump's own administration, including the Inspector General, the General Counsel to the CIA, and the Acting Director of National Intelligence. We have the $391 million in military and economic aid that has been withheld without justification. No one, including Mitch McConnell, was ever able to get a good answer as to why that aid was being withheld. Now we know it was part of a high-pressure tactic to extract political gain for Donald Trump by targeting an American citizen and a political opponent. We also have the White House Chief of Staff's confession as to what the entire Trump-Ukraine scandal was about. We're going to keep the focus on Donald Trump's behavior, and the evidence continues to mount.
Another bipartisan area of possibility is USMCA. Any timing of that, and also
also, would your leadership team put it on the floor, if a solid majority of the caucus is going to vote no?
Well, that'll ultimately be a decision that the caucus will have to make in terms of process and where members fall on that question. We continue to want to get to yes.
Yeah, I would just underscore that. We continue to want to get to yes. The working committee is meeting, and we hope that the administration will continue to work with us. This is a priority issue for American workers, for our economy, and for this caucus. So we are continuing our work, and we hope that the president and his administration will continue to meet with us and come to compromise. And, we want to see this done.
Based on the public evidence of what's known that you just laid out, how would you categorize the argument for drafting articles of impeachment at this moment? Would you say that Trump has committed an abuse of power? And how do you define that for a constituent?
Well, at the end of the day, we have to wait until the investigation that's being led by Chairman Schiff is complete, and we're going to wait for the recommendations that will be made by the Intel Committee relative to the Trump-Ukraine scandal. And then it's possible that we may get recommendations in terms of possible articles from the other committees, including Oversight and Financial Services, Ways and Means, Foreign Affairs, and possibly Judiciary as well. The evidence of wrongdoing by Donald Trump is hiding in plain sight. He betrayed the American people, abused his power, and undermined our national security. No one is above the law. Thank you.